Hello, my dear friends. I'm Ksenia, and you're watching St.Petersburg-me channel. And today I have a guest for my video. Uh, his name is Igor. He has his own channel on YouTube. It's called Igor in Russia. And today we will be speaking about opinions on what's going on his perspective. I will be asking questions. Maybe Igor will ask some questions me too. I think this video will be very interesting and you have to watch it. So, Igor, hello.
Thanks a lot for having me, and yeah, definitely, it's we're gonna have an interesting perspective on things because I'm like my name video channel, YouTube channel suggests. I'm in Russia, but I'm actually living mostly in Finland, where I lived most of my life.
Mhm.
But coming to St. Petersburg, I feel like right at home, and I film St. Petersburg and Russian life from my perspective, meaning that I understand fully the Russian side, how people interact, but at the same time, I have the knowledge from the West, and maybe I'm able to bring a new take on things. But yeah, great to be here. Thanks a lot, and I'm also a subscriber, so thanks a lot.
Yeah. Okay. I have one more question about your origins. So you are a local Finn, right? End up speaking Russian then. And
No. You would never find Finnish. There's like maybe one, two, three Finnish people who speak Russian well. But no, I was born in Latvia, Soviet Union. And in '92, when Soviet Union collapsed, we moved to Finland because I actually have Ingrian Finn roots through my mom's side. Yeah, in Inger Malanets. And Inger Malanets. And we moved to Finland in '92, and that's why we lived there. But what else? So I have also a little bit Belarusian, a little bit Ukrainian in the back through my roots, but mostly like Russian, Finnish, and mostly Russian. My native language is also Russian, even though I speak even English better than my native language. But after almost 30 years in Finland, actually, the place where I felt truly home is St. Petersburg.
St. Petersburg. Why do you like this city?
It's interesting because you can write books about this experience, but I can tell you the short version. I used to go to, I think it was like religious trip to certain churches, like Ksenia Petersburg-me church. I think we went like in early 2000s, and the monastery of Johann Kronstatsky, like early 2000s. But properly, I was introduced to St. Petersburg in 2016. And this one certain moment when I drove in a bus, because we had this, it was a tourist trip, and we went by the Neva River embankment. And when I saw that, I still remember, I saw the beautiful Neva River embankment buildings alongside and this whole place, and something happened inside me. And that feeling when you like gasping for air, it's like the most amazing feeling. And that feeling has never left. So I started to visit St. Petersburg more and more, exploring the city and finding maybe my Russian roots through the city. And by the way, we have family all across Russia, but mainly in Voronezh also.
Oh, yeah.
Voronezh is like other place.
Yeah, I see. Thank you for sharing. Very interesting. So I would like to know your opinion, on what's happening in Finland. So you now in Finland, right?
Yeah, currently waiting to get back to St. Petersburg.
Happening there regarding the situation with Russia, with the Russians. How do you see that?
Well, Russia is always a popular, unpopular theme in the media, and even before this whole thing, it's always constantly there's something negativity about Russian, and always some kind of a writings and articles with basically trying to say that Russia is a threat, and now since last year it's getting, of course, because of reporting from Ukraine, it's constant, of course. But through this whole thing, even though Russian people were, Finnish people are always been, because of historical reasons, you have to understand that even though Russia had a huge influence on Finland, and I actually explored that on my channel, I filmed the Russian-Finland series where I explored the positive influences when Finland was part of Russian Empire as an autonomous Grand Duchy. And but everybody seems to forget all the positive things and remember only the Winter War from '39 and the continuation war where Finnish people were part of Hitler's attack. And because of this, the whole Finnish independence identity is connected to the Winter War and not the events of the 1917, which included Lenin given the possibility to become an independent country. They even took out, because of this situation in Ukraine, they took out even the one Lenin statue away from Kotka city. I think they didn't destroy it; they just took it away. This is a Finnish way of just making things erase history, I guess.
So they put the statue in some other place.
No, they put it in storage somewhere, not visible for people. And they also took out, because of construction, they took out this peace monument, which I also reported on my channel. They took this from the 70s or 90s. Anyway, a gift from Moscow, the peace to the world type of thing. And it's even though you might not believe the message, it's historically important. But anyway, they took it also to a storage room. I don't think we're gonna see it again. But not like Latvians who blew it up, the Statue of Victory or whatever. But anyway, so the situation is pretty bad. I mean, the opinion side, there's a new survey in Finland, for example, hinting a little bit about how Finnish people feel about Russian people, notice people. Because the Russian people there was 70% who didn't want Russian immigrants in Finland, and historically Russians is the biggest minority group in Finland outside Swedish people are not actually considered a minority group technically because they are part of Finnishness. I think it was 70,000 Russian-speaking people and growing all the time. Very critical to Russian immigrants. The people are largely supporting Ukraine in any way. It's also very popular to be wearing some Ukrainian stuff, colors, and to taking part in different kind of messaging pro-Ukraine, that type of stuff. So it's kind of understandable because also the media is constantly showing the awful things that happened there. So it's a huge question. Then again, of course, then there's the NATO question, which is still in the air because of Turkey. And there's it's a whole different reality there, a whole different story about it, different events. But the Finnish people largely await joining NATO. And this, I think, I don't know if this happens or when. I think it might get even worse, on a political scale. And when it gets worse on political scale, usually the shit flows down. So it's a Finnish.
But how did people of Finland feel about joining NATO before?
This is the interesting thing that before events in Ukraine, there's two camps there, because a lot of people in political parties were thinking that Finland is rejoicing, supporting their neutrality on being really neutral and having a strong army which is convincing enough to like support Finnish independence in case of like attack. This is the way. But and other people felt that, and these people felt that if we would join NATO, then this neutrality is actually like is under threat. Like and we would be a part of the anti-Russian fronts, sort of. And then there's other ones who supported NATO, who felt threatened by Russia all the way down to their toes, and everything. And these people also include the very like anti-Russians, maybe even Russophobes, of course, even the Russophobes, and there's a lot of those as well. And so yeah, and these camps basically the people who supported the strong neutrality changed very quickly once the events took place in Ukraine. It was being considered that of course we would have a neutral a voting about it, etc. But then again, when this happened, all of a sudden they forgot about the democracy, and the polls were enough to support this. There are many reasons behind that, but before the situation, it was over 50% did not support NATO. And there was a certain percentage of undecided. I think it was something like that. And there was like maybe 30% supporting NATO. So it was, yeah. And this is not that people were like pro-Russian or anything, but they were pro-Finland, meaning in a neutral way. Because pro-Russian attitudes are very rare in Finland, because basically you're not able to be pro-Russian without being blacklisted or named, It's just the political situation is like this. It's always been. And that's because we don't have any news about Russia which are positive. Once you create an image or support certain image of a country in the media all the time, even before Ukraine stuff. So it's hard to say anything like even positive, because even for me, I'm a cultural YouTuber, right? So I get all the time attacked saying stuff about political stuff about me, even though I just show in a positive way culture, because I don't mix things up, and I don't want to mix things up. Once I film St. Petersburg, I don't do it to make announcements about certain events. I just wanted to show, like you did, show the real people. If they're smiling, they are smiling. If there's a bum on the streets sleeping, which is a rare occasion, then it is so, So it's a very unhealthy situation before this as well, in the media or on social platforms.
I see. But do you feel that Finns feel that Russia is a threat for them?
I think many thought so. It was probably one of probably the number one threat for even before. I will say always before and after Ukraine, because it's understandably certain thoughts are only strengthened through this process. But Russia has been historically the number one threat according to people's like surveys, and now I think I saw some survey which put it like even higher. And but once again, I say, of course, it's easy to believe so. I don't think so personally, because I understand that Ukraine is very different situation for Russia, and for them it's hard to. And people who oppose Russian acts in general, it's easy for them to combine, like, because Ukraine now, that's why all the world, and that's the way to politically gain certain thoughts and support for certain like acts. I don't think so, because there's no point. But joining NATO is actually kind of make things worse, because Finnish people want to be more defended even larger. But at the same time, this defense means that's bringing more troops, and currently basically the enemies to Finnish land, which opposes Russia, which means everybody's going to ante up their weaponization on the border. So It's a very hard thing, of course, but it's understandable, even though I don't agree.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Okay.
If
Mm-hmm.
Russia would make news about every like country's movements on their border, alongside their border, that would be also, well, I guess it would be the same news as now.
Yeah.
And the Russian people will believe that the people are enemies, right? So the same
Yeah.
stuff happened here.
Happened to Russians. Yeah.
Yeah,
They believe
but
the enemies are all around.
yeah.
Yeah. I see. Thank you for this opinion. And do you see many people, or maybe occasional people, who support Russia in Finland?
No, because it's socially. What means, by the way, supporting? You mean like culturally or supporting the?
Supporting the military operation. Yeah.
No, there's no site. I think that I haven't seen any, and I don't think it's like it's even safe to do so if somebody would want to,
Oh.
because it's so unpopular. It's like way. Even though according to surveys, there's a big percentage. I think was like 60% of Russians. It was earlier last year, but I think
Mm-hmm.
there was support for these acts, but not necessarily. I don't know in which measures,
Mm-hmm.
in which amount, but there was support. But nobody shows that because it's like probably not safe even.
Oh.
But yeah, and actually, just there's a lot of support for Ukraine in the media, on the people's minds, so there's a lot of this. But no other type of support I haven't seen at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
In Russian YouTube, I see quite many videos showing Russians who formerly moved to Europe. It's European countries, not Finland, but Germany, I don't know, like France, maybe, Austria. Then those people who moved out of Russia, like in 90s, in early 2000s, they actually support the military operation. They are waving flags. They are saying like "Go Russia, go." Do you?
Are you sure that especially about the operation or in
Yeah.
Russia in general,
Yes.
not culturally?
Like pro Putin, they say that Putin is the best leader ever. One question that I get is that if you think that Russia is so great, that Putin is the best leader, why do you still live in Europe?
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's you talked about especially about the people who like wave the flags and that type of stuff. So I'm not sure about their intentions. But if we take out this political aspect or this supporting like politically Russia and support just and if we talk about only the people who feel that they can support their country, like like in a cultural way or what else, I don't know, like in a normal human way. So if we talk about that I can understand because, for example, I never lived in Russia, but like I said, that's my like cultural home already, and I always been, even though I never kind of felt I never lived there because I'm from the Soviet Union in general. So this is interesting, and there's a lot of investigations. Investigation, wrong word, but people study this a lot, and there's like, of course, I don't know. Maybe it's just it might be just normal thing because if you say like a Finnish person moves out of Finland to go to somewhere, she feels still attracted to their homeland, or even homeland, cultural homeland. So I guess it's like a normal thing for many. But in Russia, getting back to your question, actual question, maybe it's the politics, and the politics and the culture is somehow, unfortunately, maybe somehow intentionally or unintentionally combined. And this is something that's in Finland. Many investigators say also that, remember that when you're talking about Russia, you don't have to talking about like necessarily a president or governments, governmental people. And this is what I do. For me, Russia is Russia, and I don't want have any political opinions, even though I might explain them because I understand how, why Russians living in Germany, for example, cannot support Russia in a cultural way, or and vice and instead of, and then, for example, German living in USA cannot support Germany. Why he is a traitor, or like fake. So you have to be, I think, like equal. Does that change? Does that give you any perception? Not that I'm like explaining. I'm not explaining for them at all. But I would think so. Just and that would explain me as well. Why do I feel? Why I want to go to Russia? Because, well, it's it feels like they are also my people, and just it's 2023 where you can have mixed nationalities and ideas. And if you identify yourself as a more like some other nation because of your roots, then go for it. It doesn't mean you have to move out of something, even though I wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Ksenia, by the way, this is very interesting because you can go also a little bit more racist in this, and this is very typical for people who don't like the videos about Russia, even though you don't say even your opinion. You just showing the reality, and you just enjoying yourself because you do enjoy yourself. If you do, then many say that move out. Like, this is an interesting point, that how come like in some place means they have to get out. This is like very, very stupid, because half of the world will move out if somebody supports. If you imagine this happening to other nations, because it's easy to do that against Russian content. But what about, let's say, even Finns? Finns love, for example, traveling to Spain, etc. If you love Spain, then move out of here. Well, a lot of pensioners actually do.
Yeah. So yes, I understand when people support even so-called culturally, but when they support like politically.
Yeah.
So you moved out of Russia because of political and economical reasons, but now you are in Western countries and you politically support Russia. So I don't know.
Yeah, but this is like I said, this might be the reason. Not that I'm an expert, but I think this might be my take on it, is that politics and culture and religion even have somehow become this one thing.
Oh yeah.
As if they are one thing. They shouldn't be. But and for them, it's taken effect for those people.
Yes. Now it's in Russian news. It's a big narrative that if you don't like what we are doing, you don't like Russia. You don't love Russia. You are a traitor. But I love my country with all my heart. But I'm not supporting. I would say that I'm a pacifist. So how can I support fighting, like military fighting, if I'm a pacifist? It's not possible. But still, I love my country.
But that's once again, and those actions are politically activated. I mean, the intentions are that to sell the idea. That's why they say that stuff, and that's because they want to influence people, and everybody wants to influence people in each country, with their own agenda. It's same things happening in a different way in the West, in a different way, in a Western ways, and in Russia, stuff are really strong always, even even geopolitically. It's like always, and that's because of like the cultural reason. Russian people are really, they can act really strong, and not just Russian. I mean, Slavic people in general. So that's why so it might appear for you as you're quite Westernized kind of. So for you, it's weird that they say so, but for many Russians who are not taking influences from the West, this is normal. When Western people who don't have any connection to Russia, just watching the news, it feels like so, so edgy, like deciding if you're not if you're not a Christian Orthodox, you're a traitor. That's saying stuff.
Yeah. Okay, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm like some kind of professor, even though I'm just saying stuff I noticed. I don't have any education about this.
I think my last question to you is, as far as I know, there are several European countries that banned entry for Russians. They are Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Litva. So all other countries, Poland, yeah. All other countries, they allow Russians to enter. Yes, visas are now much in price, significantly raised in price, and it's on the whole, it's very hard to travel out of Russia now, because the price of tickets, airplane tickets, is just enormous. But you can. But in Finland, Poland, Estonia, you can't access. So, what do you think of that?
But are you sure that you mean, like, I think the whole European Union is out of reach for Russians as well. That's why they wanted. I think so. No.
Somehow in September I was able to get into Bulgaria. I also found out about Bulgaria.
How did you get there?
Huh?
How did you travel to Bulgaria?
I traveled first from St. Petersburg to Minsk, then from Minsk to Istanbul,
No, all
and
right.
from Istanbul to Bulgaria. So it was flights. Yeah.
You couldn't have flown right away to Istanbul, no?
If you fly from Moscow or from St. Petersburg to Istanbul, it was like 6,000 rubles.
Yeah, you said last summer, right?
Huh?
Last summer, you said.
It was in September.
September, yeah. I think now it's much cheaper. It's getting way cheaper. I think so. Yeah, but I'm not sure. Then I'm not a correct person to say so. But Finland was pressured to also. Finland was the last one out of the border countries to close the borders. And I actually had the viral video last year, by the way, in the world. I made a video, and let me tell you a story quickly about it, because this video traveled the world in few days, and it was actually fake news for a while, because my video, I released a video like a day before the partial mobilization information, and the next day, it all of a sudden, the Putin announced the partial mobilization, and there were rumors that a lot of people getting out of the country, right? And my video which was taken 3 months earlier, just during the normal summer day, was taken out of context, and somebody said it on Twitter that check it out, and also came up that 35 kilometers of people in line waiting to get to Finland, escape in Russia. I'm like, what? Then this video traveled millions of people around the world. All the news media, Americans, European, Indian, used that same image, saying there are reports that Finland is full of escapees from Russia, and these are like normal people. Then somebody found out that the video was actually mine, and like reporters, and they said, we want to investigate, we want to debunk this message. And I started giving out the information regarding this original video that I made, and it was debunked. I was in the France TV all around the world. So but Finland was the first one to last one to close the borders, because there was a huge pressure from European community because through Finland people traveled to Russia and enjoyed the normal day when stuff are happening. That was the narrative. So
now Russians are not allowed to Finland if they're escaping mobilization, right?
If that's the reason, you have to. I think there's technically you can apply for what's the word? Not sanction. What's the word when you try to get a place. Asylum, yes.
Asylum. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, as if you helped. And asylum seeker, you have to become an asylum seeker to somehow do this, but it might be like hard, I guess. I'm not sure. But technically, as a tourist, you cannot come. So all those people who travel to Finland, they have to have a second flight to somewhere for some reason. But I'm not sure that you can enter as a tourist unless you have a like destination ticket to another location. If it's some other European country which doesn't ban Russians, so I guess it's possible.
Oh.
But yeah, and a lot of people, when I traveled, if I traveled by bus, and I made videos about it, how to travel for foreigners, how to travel through bus. And a lot of Russians, most of them are Russians that travel on this bus coming from the airport. So this is the route coming from away from a trip also. The easiest way, probably the cheapest way, is by taking a flight to Helsinki and then by bus. So yeah, this is, and people don't want, actually, even it's bad for business for a lot of cities nearby Russian border because it was open for a while after pandemic, 3 months or something, but then it's closed. It's going to influence a lot of businesses, of course. But I guess even though if some business owner would think that this is bad, they kind of cannot support opening of the border because it's so there's too many people against it all around Finland. So basically, if you would say so, the thing I said in the earlier part of the video, you would be also labeled as a pro-Russian, even though you just might say, "Hey, this is my livelihood." But if you want to open the borders, there's a huge possibility you will be labeled like unpatriotic or like pro-Russian, and that's and pro-Russian means bad. Oh, by the way, if you're pro Sweden, that's cool. If you're pro Germany, it's cool. But Russia, you cannot be pro-Russian. Not. I'm just explaining, not taking part, taking side. I'm just saying how this works.
I can totally agree on the fact that businesses in Finland, especially those who are near the border with Russia, they will suffer because I remember before, like maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, there was so many people traveling back and forth to Finland from
shopping.
St. Petersburg. There were so many buses going to Finland each weekend. People just went to Finland to buy cheese, meat, fish. It is like I don't know, like 3 hours. 3 hour bus, something like.
Yeah, from Viborg it's even less, but yeah, it's a 4 hour. But depending on the border, Russian border especially can be slow.
Yeah, I just remember I never happened to travel to Finland myself, but I remember all the fuss around my relatives who lives here, around my friends, around my colleagues. They were like, "Oh, will you go to Finland this weekend? Oh, please buy cheese to me too."
Yeah. I don't know what's up with cheese. I always buy the cheapest, or one of the cheapest normal cheeses in Russia, always, and I love it. But the quality is the reason, by the way. The quality and Finland, there can be actually really, really good prices, even though it's in euros. Prices are very cheap when there's like good discounts, like really good. You can buy cheaper than in Russia, because in Russia, as you know, stuff, when there's discounts, they're not huge discounts ever. On clothing, for example, most often it's like 10-20%, and it's good.
Yes.
Here you can find stuff like really good quality stuff, good brands, minus 70% when it's like sellout. It's normal thing.
So I understand why people liked cheese.
Yeah, and same thing with fish, for example. Salmon is very expensive, but here it's even better than in Russia. We buy farel, for example, in Russia, but in Finland it's way better. And that's why people actually for real travel and buy like kilos and kilos of stuff.
Yeah, so I totally understand the situation.
Yeah.
Absence of Russian tourism.
And not just food, once people go to grocery stores, they also eat. They also maybe stay overnight, and then the spas. Then you have Lapland, which was full of Russian. You know, the tourism is a huge business, and now, of course, everything has stopped. And the bad situation about now, I have to say, is that everything has stopped on every level. You know, not culturally and everything. It also influenced me. I made videos about, you know, promoting Finland for Russians and made videos, a lots of stuff, not on YouTube, but for other like commercial stuff. All of that stuff also stopped, even though the themes are important, but nobody wants to touch anything Russian right now. You know, if it's Russian, you cannot promote. I know, like cities, I have stuff filmed about Russian history, and it's there. It's fact, but they cannot promote it because this way it would be somehow, I don't know, pro-Russian maybe, and that's very unhealthy situation. But then again, of course, it's kind of understandable, even though I don't.
Yeah. So everything that we can do now is just hope for the best, hope that everything will end up as soon as possible.
But it seems bad because it feels like it's getting only worse from all sides. You know, everybody is anti-upping. This is very, very dangerous.
You know,
more dangerous.
In Russia we have a saying that hope dies the last. So
yes, I think it's from Star Wars as well.
Oh, but you know, here in Russia we use that long before Star Wars.
Yeah. I think George Lucas stole it from Russia.
Maybe.
You should sanction him.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this conversation. It was very interesting and very knowledgeable. Thank you so much for your opinions. And I hope my audience will like our video. So thank you so much for attending.
And of course, subscribe to my channel, and also and of course become members for your channel, the subscribers you have, because membership is always good.
Yeah, you will find all the links in the description box below. So yeah,
thanks a lot for having me, and see you again later.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.